Hey guys, Comic Boom here. It's been a while since I actually did a video, but I thought I'd have a little fun, and I thought I would look through some of my comic book covers that I really like. I'm a Prurient Fanboy at heart, and some covers just speak for themselves as to why I like them. I've got a lot of great Adam Hughes covers. I'm not going to be able to show them all because some of them are in storage. Most of them are, but I do have some comic book covers. I'm going to have a little fun with this video, throw some covers out there that I really like. And you know what? For a lot of these things, if the story is great, it doesn't really matter. If the story is terrible, it doesn't really matter. Because some of these titles, some of these comic books I just bought because the cover was that good. You know all what I'm talking about. So join me here, sit back and maybe sip some beer or whatever you enjoy to drink. And sit back and enjoy looking at some comic book Prurient Fanboy art. Let's have some fun, shall we? Alright guys, starting off here, we got Batman Adventures Mad Love. I picked this up at the Calgary Expo, man, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, I can't remember what. Batman Adventures Mad Love. I think this is just a collected edition, but I got it signed by Bruce Timm, Paul Dini. How can you go wrong with some Harley Quinn, right? I mean, it's a great issue. I mean, gotta love Harley Quinn. Here we have some a random Adam Hughes cover. I've got pretty much every Wonder Woman issue, probably going back to the certainly the late 1960s, early 1970s at a minimum. And it's great to have Adam Hughes. He's the one guy that if there's Adam Hughes on the cover, you know it's worth a buy at a minimum. Great stuff. And by the way, this is in no particular order, so just sit back. This is eye candy, guys. This is eye candy. This is good stuff. You know what I'm talking about. This is really good stuff. All right. Next here, we got Jane Foster, Valkyrie. I mean, good Lord, can you go wrong with that? I mean, look at that. Good grief. Great art. I don't even know who the artist is on that, but does it really matter? It doesn't matter. An early art germ, Batgirl. It's funny. The early art germ Batgirl in the New 52, Gail Simone's run was really well. I thought Gail Simone's run was relatively well received. She introduced Jim Gordon's had another son. She had a brother who became a psychopath. But what many people don't realize is that Art Germ had some of his earliest covers with Batgirl. And it's worth picking up for that reason, even if you're not a big fan of the story, the art itself is really good and some of the covers. Now, a couple of other ones, random ones, Stars and Stripes. I think it's worth checking out that Jeff Johns, his first work for DC was for Stars and Stripes, or at least his first series. Stars and Stripe, of course, is that the main character. She's got a robot friend there. She's got the rod from Starman, and she's based on Jeff Johns' sister, who was killed in a plane crash in 2006, Pan Am flight, I forget what it was, but in any event, Jeff Johns, of course, is working on the Stars and Stripes series. That's the first issue there. Not a lot of Prurient Fanboy on that, of course. It's not meant to be, of course, but I thought I'd throw that in. Here we have Livewire, first appearance of Livewire, but there's something about animation, animated girls. You know, there's a innocent sexuality about them and innocence that just sort of permeates off the page. And of course, that started with Harley Quinn in classic Batman Animated number 12. Another series I really like is 21 Down. Now, this is off the beaten path. This was a series that, and I got this one signed by Jimmy Palmiotti. Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray did this. Jose Saez was the artist on this, one of his earlier works. Fantastic art. I love this series. Unfortunately, it ended at issue 12. Jimmy Palmiotti recently posted on Twitter that they in fact finished issue 13, but it never got to press. But he did thank Bob Harris, I believe, for giving him an opportunity with the series and giving it a life. And it's just a fantastic series with great art. Now this here, I'm going to show an issue that I picked up at a Comic-Con and that I really liked. The cover alone was worth the price. And this is Supergirl issue number 399, Adventure Comics 399. I mean, look at this. Can you get better than that? What are cop-outs selling these days, Johnny? I mean, look at that. Would you get away with that cover nowadays? Johnny da Bum. Look at that, huh? little bit of humor there, you know. A white woman telling a black guy that he's a bum. Yeah, that goes over so well nowadays, doesn't it? Good grief. But in any event, I picked up this comic book. So I picked up this issue. We Can Do It. This was a variant cover. Every now and then something gets by a retailer. Never saw it on a shelf. Got this sucker for cover price. I can't really complain about that. But yeah, it's nice. Peggy Carter Exiles deals with alternative universe stories, and she's Captain America. And anyways, fantastic cover. Can't go wrong with that. Now, of course, we got some Shanna the She-Devil. You can't go wrong with Shanna the She-Devil, can you? You know, again, classic art. You know, the old style. I'm not even sure who the artist is on that. Maybe one of you guys can tell me. Great stuff. Signed Fables #1 by Bill Willingham, with fantastic art by I think that's Lan Medina is on the cover there. Great stuff. Beautiful art. Some Batgirl, some classic Burnside Batgirl, and this followed Gail Simone's run in the New 52. Cameron Stewart is the artist on that. I got some great Cameron Stewart Catwoman art that I got for the Calgary Comic Con. Maybe I'll show one day. This one here is another one of my favorite covers. You know, Wonder Woman is often seen supplicating in front of her enemies. It's really good to see her kick some ass, to kick another woman's ass and hold her up very provocatively like she does in this particular issue. And wow, look how sexy and sex and violence all on one page. Frederick Wortham would love that. Female on female violence. She's bleeding from the nose. Wonder Woman dragging her up like the piece of meat that she is. Just, completely politically correct. And it was printed in the modern era. Can you believe it? Fantastic. All right. Here we go. Catwoman. This was Ed Brubaker's run. Paul Galusi was the artist. I think Palmiotti does the inks. I got it signed by Jimmy Palmiotti. And at least I think that's Palmiotti's signature. In any event, great stuff. Fantastic. You can't go wrong. Catwoman often is a comic book that has fantastic art. All right. And again, some random comic book art here. Valkyrie, Eclipse Comics, issue #3, written by Chuck Dixon, drawn by Paul Galusi. The same guy that drew Catwoman drew this one. Look at that. Look at the, and that's the difference between, I think, 25 years. I mean, this one was back in the 80s, maybe 30 years apart, these two comics. And Paul Galusi still has it, back in the earlier days when Chuck Dixon was, wasn't wrongfully, judged for his politics. He's still a great guy and a great writer. This one here, I love Jonah Hex, and I also loved Hex. And how can you not love Stiletto if you love Hex? Check that out. I got that in a dollar bin. Who in God's green earth would not want to buy that in a dollar bin, right? I mean, that's fantastic stuff. Really good stuff. I'm going to try to improve the lighting here on this here. There we go. A little bit better. But yeah, Joan, look at that. Wow. All right. So now, Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor, they were at the Calgary Comic Con one year, and I got them to sign Power Girl #1. Again, great. It's great to have this. They're wonderful. I got Amanda Connor's direct edition, huge, massive hardcover, which showed all her original pages. Anyways, this is great. Really great to have worked from all these guys. All right, continuing on. Fables #50. Fables #50. Again, signed by Bill Willingham. Love that. Has a free preview of Jack of Fables inside. First issue of Motor Girl. Written and drawn by Terry Moore. It's a great series about post-traumatic stress. And wow, buy her comic or I'll rip your head off. Yeah, buy the comic, but you don't have to worry about getting your head ripped off. It's just a great read. This here, first issue of Lazarus. Greg Rucka, he signed it. Said Rocky family above all. And of course, those of you who have read Lazarus, you know exactly what it means when it says family above all. Fantastic issue. Gorgeous art by Michael Lark. Fantastic. Well worth the purchase. And this is the first issue. This is, I believe, one of the first appearances of Batgirl in the Weekly 52. I got it because it's just a great cover, and it's again well worth getting just for the art alone. And again, I'm not really sure why it has why the lighting is so off in here like this. It's frustrating as hell to get the lighting right, but sometimes you just can't help it. But in any event, we need some Renee Montoya, an angry Renee Montoya. If you want a comic book about an angry lesbian, pick up Gotham Central. But guess what? It's that's me being facetious. It's a fantastic read. Greg Rucka and basically put himself on the map along with Ed Brubaker in this series. Great series, and this is a fantastic cover by Cano. Great stuff. At least I think that is Cano. If somebody can correct me on that. I like this cover by, I believe this is Zurcher's art by Trinity issue 21. I just think I think the art's fantastic. Beautiful Killer, Adam Hughes. This one I picked up. I bought this for $10. It was Jimmy Palmiotti, Phil Noto, Adam Hughes on the cover. Again, great work. Great work. And Justice League of America by Kelly Gross and Eugen, issue number 90. This is a Batman Wonder Woman Resolutions. Believe it or not, there was a time when Batman and Wonder Woman, there was a rumor that they were going to get together, and this issue is a gorgeous issue. I love the simplicity of the cover. It basically says it all. Do they, will they or won't they? Do they or don't they? You got to get the issue to find out. Obviously, you can imagine that they didn't. But, I love the fact that they're always thinking about it. Okay. Those of you who are into Art Germ might not be aware of this. Final Crisis was a very divisive big event for DC. And there was a series of comic books that came out of DC after Final Crisis. This one was called Dance. And none of them were very good. I'll be very blunt. None of them were. This one is written by Joe Casey. This wasn't particularly good, but it had some interesting covers. The covers I thought were mediocre at the time, but Art Germ has gone on, this Art Germ cover, to make a name for himself. The covers themselves were meh, but you can judge for yourself. In any event, this next one here is much more memorable. Crossfire, Mark Evanier and Dan Spiegel, number 14. In this one, Crossfire rescues Rainbow is her name. I think it's Rainbow, who is a member of another superhero squad. I can't remember which. Anyway, she's being taken advantage of in a movie, made into a porn actress, and of course he's got to save the day. Imagine how rude you would have to be to, rampage onto a porn set to rescue a woman who is probably there of her own volition. But in any event, at least we got a little bit of a provocative view on the cover, right? There you go. All right, another great cover. This is Secret 6, number 16. This one is great. Sorry for the wrinkles on the plastic on some of this stuff, but, this is a great cover. Gail Simone's. Look at that. I can't remember who the artist is, but just fantastic. What is it? The Lucy? Anyways, I'm not sure who it is, but anyways, great art, great art. All right, continuing on. Crimson Plague. This is a premiere issue. This is the exclusive photo cover by George Perez. George Perez. He's retired now, but one of the last series that he ever did was Crimson Plague. And while it suffered a little bit in the art department because he was slowly going blind, nonetheless, it's a good series, and it's actually hard to come by in back print. This here is something I picked up in a dollar bin. It's what the $2 thing is still on it. It's a provocative. It's a Mike Girl cover, Warlord. I mean, look at it. I mean, how can you not like that? You got to be insane not to like that. Great stuff. One of my favorite Mr. Miracle covers right here. I actually have multiple copies of this. I got this hung up. It's one of my favorite covers of Mr. Miracle. In fact, it is my favorite cover of Mr. Miracle. It's that good. Another provocative cover is that of Vixen. Look at that. Look at that. How can you not like this? Unbelievable. Beautiful covers. Beautiful covers. I mean, just sexy DC women. I mean, what's not to like? You know what I'm saying? Good Lord. Look at this. Some sexy Marvel women. Namora. I mean, of course, there's a little bit of, you can tell what's sexy about that. But guys, let's be blunt here. I mean, sexiness sells. And if you get a good story out of it, isn't that kind of a bonus? And so why not have both? I mean, speaking of, you got boobs floating on the water. I mean, then you got, look at this. Frederick Wortham would love this stuff, huh? Absolutely love this stuff. Look at that. Come on. Blackest Night, JSA. You gotta feel sorry for Power Girl, but I gotta tell you, I don't know who that villain is there, but Mr. Terrific, he seems to be unconscious. I'm sure he'd like to be awake to check out what we're all seeing right now. But hey, it is what it is. Great, great, great scene. All right, so first issue of Queen and Country, Greg Rucka, written by Greg Rucka. This one is signed by Steve Gerber, I think, who is I think he's the artist, but in any event, maybe he's not. Anyways, doesn't matter. I like it. Queen and Country, one of my favorite stories. I bought the novels, and I got the stories written, the novelizations written by Greg Rucka as well. Good series. Exiles #3. This one you've seen around. Peggy Carter as Captain America again. Provocative. Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld. One of my favorite Amethyst covers, #1. Again, good to see Amethyst. Now, this is one of George Perez's best covers in my estimation is Teen Titans #17, the new Teen Titans. Look at Starfire. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous cover. I mean, this is George Perez in his prime. Fantastic art. Fantastic. You can't go wrong with this stuff, people. You can't go wrong. Random cover that no one... This is a comic book, this next one, Vanity, that I'm sure many of you have seen in dollar bins. Vanity #1. It came out right at the height of the beginning of the direct sale market. PC comic. And I don't mean politically correct when I say PC. That was the name of the comic book company. It was Pacific Comics. And wow, it was a provocative comic book about from the Stone Age to the Space Age. It was a lot of fun to read. All right, so continuing on now, we got some Joe Jusko here. I mean, Joe Jusko. Look at that, Painkiller Jane and Punisher. Man, it's not too often you have Warren Ellis. Warren Ennis writing Painkiller Jane. Usually it's Jimmy Palmiotti. It's his creation. But again, great comic. I love Batgirl, and I love the end of Batgirl. I love this cover with Cassandra Cain fighting her mother, Lady Shiva. There's always something sexy about Asian women fighting each other. I don't know about you guys. In any event, look at this woman, huh? Don't try to take her rod from her. She gets awfully upset. Awfully upset. Look at that. I mean, I tell you what, that Mr. Miracle run, even if you didn't like the story, you had to love the covers, man. There's a lot of great covers there by Mitch Gerard. He really hit it out of the park. This one here by Domino, Gail Simone Domino run. There's some really great covers here. I like here, it shows all the different incarnations of Domino through the years. Very sexy and provocative cover. Very well done. Very well done. Who's the cover artist? I'm not really sure. This here, Arrowette. There's something sexy about this cover as well. There's an innocence about it, but it's also a lot of humor, and it's fun, and I think it's even the first appearance of Arrowette. I don't even know it, but it's one of those things where it's when it's in a, I got that in $1. I got all of my Impulse, I think, in $1 bin back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago, when nobody cared about it. Okay, and you got to love some Harley Quinn. I mean, anything by Sean Gordon Murphy in here, you got to throw that in there. Some provocative Harley Quinn. And as Harley Quinn looks like he's going to be setting it up, so Harley Quinn and Batman are kind of getting together. And I imagine that's going to continue in the Murphyverse. Classic Supergirl cover. This one happens to be, I think that's the Canadian variant. Or newsstand. Actually, no, it's not. That's the American newsstand variant. This one here is rare, but it's a Brian Bolland cover of Mademoiselle Marie one-shot. It's a Brian Bolland cover. It's rare, hard to find. I bought it right off the stand because I just love Brian Bolland. Another one of those things where it's a fantastic series. It wasn't a series, it was a one-shot, but anything you can get by Brian Boland, you got to pick up. This one here, Frank Quietly, guys. Anything by Frank Quietly, you got to get. I mean, his Bite Club, the covers on Bite Club were just fantastic. You just can't go wrong with this stuff. A little bit of Dick Sprang, classic Dick Sprang. Look at that, Dick Sprang. The Dick Sprang cover with Catwoman on the cover. It's time, Batman, for a little Catwoman's revenge. You got that right, I tell you what. I got more than a few Catwoman covers here, I tell you that much. Legion of Superheroes, Supergirl in the Legion of Superheroes, which I think was a better idea than Superboy in the Legion of Superheroes, if you want to be brutally honest about it. I actually, I got this one signed by Mark Waid. Mark Waid is a great guy to talk to, guys. I know that he's a controversial figure at this point in time, but the reality is he's a great guy to talk to. He's great with fans when you talk to him at Comic-Cons, and just to shoot the shit with him and have a good time. And his, he's got a very distinctive and obvious signature. And this here, his series of Supergirl and the Legion of Superheroes with Barry Kitson and Justin Gray, it was just a really good series. It was a lot of fun. Peter David's run on Supergirl was one that I really, really enjoyed. I think it's the best Supergirl's ever been written. And that was going back to the Matrix Supergirl. And she eventually evolved. And his final arc on Supergirl had to do with a series called Many Happy Returns, where Supergirl actually ends up going to an alternate universe, meeting a guy there, getting married. And this was one of those classic covers, obviously paying homage to Crisis on Infinite Earths #7. Fantastic cover, one of my favorite. The next series of covers here you guys have seen before, but I gotta show them off. I mean, because it's great to have. If you have Topps Comics, Zorro. I mean, Lady Rawhide, man, she's sexy as hell. And of course, Lady Rawhide and Zorro had to get it on a little bit there. And of course, Lady Rawhide eventually got her own series in that cover, this classic cover by Adam Hughes. One of my favorite and really sexy. Looks fantastic. Great series. Going back to Joe Jusko again, Tomb Raider, Laura Croft, Tomb Raider, the greatest treasure of all. Another great series. Or rather, I think this is actually, I think it was just a one-shot as well, but written by Dan Jurgens, art by Joe Jusko. This one here, I've actually got triples of this, and I don't know how that happened, but Teen Titans number 23, the original series, 15-cent cover price. Donna Troy on the cover as Wonder Girl. Beautiful cover. And I got this in varying. This one here is a grade of probably a 5.5 or a 6. And I think I got a 7 and maybe an 8 grade. But anyways, a great cover. Classic cover. And again, just sorry about the wrinkles on the. Some of these I should probably rewrap, but they've been in boxes for a while. But I've had them up in my loft, and I thought I'd finally go through them. But all right, Batwoman. The Batwoman issue 0. Nice cover, and this is, I think this is the first appearance of Batwoman in Detective Comics. And The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, this guy, Hack, I forget his first, Robert Hack, yeah. Robert Hack, you guys, let me give you some advice, what choice do you have? You're watching, and I'm the only one talking, right? But in any event, Robert Hack is an artist here that is highly underrated. He's a guy that he's drawing a lot of Sabrina. He's drawing a lot of the Archie covers, Sabrina covers, anything that you can see that in the Archie comic realm. Pick up anything by Robert Hack. They're easy to come by, generally speaking, and they're easy to order, and they seem to go up to $10 or $15 right away, and just great stuff. Free Comic Book Day, Betty and Veronica. Anybody who didn't pick this up, I think you're crazy. I mean, Adam Hughes, look at that. Free Comic Book Day. What a fantastic cover. Some of these other covers here you've seen from Marvel before. I'm just going to go quickly through them. All New Wolverine #1. I mean, Tom Taylor's run in All New Wolverine was great. Lopez on the artist, that's the cover. It was really good. I've always loved this cover of Spider-Woman, a pregnant Spider-Woman. I'm not even sure who the artist is. Is that Rodriguez? Is that the artist? I'm not sure, but I really like it. I'm not a big fan of these two covers, but I thought I'd show them because they're from Marvel as well. And that's Spider-Gwen #1, and then there's Silk #1. This was when Marvel was sort of like throwing everything they could at the wall and hoping something would stick. And I don't know, now with the Spider-Verse, these characters have varying degrees of popularity depending on, I guess, who you talk to, or whatever the inclination is of the next movie producer for the sequel, the inevitable sequel to the Spider-Verse movie. All right, moving on to Vertigo. I've always loved this cover of Don't Bet Against Them, The Losers. Andy Diggle and Jacques. This is the cover by Jacques, issue number 1. I love this series. This is a great series. This is also a really fun movie. It's one of the most underrated movies, in my view, that I've ever seen. I really enjoyed it. In fact, the guy that plays Negan is the guy that is in the movie of this. I forget his name, but this is an artist. This is a comic cover that I've always loved too. That happens to be worth growing up in value a little bit. George Perez, classic cover. George Perez in his prime. Of course, it's one of the, I think one of the first appearances of Black Widow or something. You guys can correct me on that. But anyways, really great. Nice cover. And another Vertigo here, Army of Love. The Mona Lisa, a play on the image of Mona Lisa. I love that. I picked this up. I haven't even wrapped this. I picked this up in a dollar bin recently. I mean, how can you not buy that? Huh? How can you not buy this? Look at that. I mean, if Mary, quite contrary. I mean, that's Guy Gardner getting beat up by a very, very dominatrix-like Mary Marvel. Guys, this, I mean, I don't even know. You know, I think when I originally bought this comic, I'm not sure if I read it or not. I'm sure I did. But I've long forgotten the story, but let's face it, you're going to buy this when it's on the rack. And I think I got like 2 or 3 of this off the rack myself since then in dollar bins. And speaking of rack, I mean, huh? Look at that. Anyways, this is what collecting's all about. Sometimes you got to have a lot of fun here and not apologize for it, right? Good grief. Anyways, here's some more. I think this is Yamina Romanov, Greg Horn doing the classic cover. Look at that. Good grief. Ain't nothing wrong with some of these covers, guys. And look, I'm at the 30 minute. I'm closing in on 30 minutes here, and this is so many covers here. I'm gonna share some Brian Boland covers now from the Invisibles. Look at this. And by the way, if you want to know what the Invisibles is about, you're talking to the wrong guy, because I haven't the foggiest idea. I bought these for the covers, and I bought these at a Comic-Con. They were $1 each. Look at some of these covers, man. Hoo-hoo-hoo. Of course I'm going to buy this. Do I care that I don't what the story is? Of course not. Look at some of these covers. Good grief. Gorgeous Brian Boland covers, man. Classic stuff. And all in like 9.2 to 9.8 condition. I mean, look at these covers. This is what, you know, you don't have to be an art critic or a rocket scientist to enjoy this stuff. You just need to be a Prurient fanboy. Good grief. And remember, guys, never apologize to anybody for buying these comic books for TNA. Good grief. All right. I had it Married with Children. Man, how many times did I enjoy watching this show because of this woman right here? Look at that. And this was $3. I think it was in a dollar bin anyway, because nobody would buy it. Nobody would buy it for $3, so I had to buy it for $1, huh? Well, as the saying goes, gentlemen, I'd buy that for $1, right? Now comics number 1, and I don't know if that comic is worth anything, but it bloody well should be. This here, I did buy this, I think, for the $5. It was the first appearance of Isis. I just threw it in there because, I don't know. I don't know if Isis, I think, has a modern day appearance with Black Adam, but that's one based on the TV show. And, guys, speaking of TNA, I picked up this. Look at this. Now, this is from Amigo Comics. It's The Rogues. El Torres, Lolita, El Dio, The Cold Ship. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't the foggiest idea what The Rogues is about. But I know that I'm going to buy this comic book. And I actually know that I would have bid for this comic book. Look at the cover. Why wouldn't you? Anyways, the next issue, The Rogues. Look at that cover. Why haven't I heard these guys more? I mean, I should be buying more of these comics. What is wrong with that? Nothing. This is what you call having fun with a collection. Having fun with it. I tell you what, I mean, if I put this stuff out on my coffee table, this is the stuff that people want to page through if they pop by the house once the social distancing is done. But in any event, let's have a little bit more fun here, shall we? Desperate times. Look at that, gentlemen. What does it say? Giant boobs on the cover. We can't get much lower, can we? Oh yeah, wait till you see the sales figures. Yes, isn't that the truth? I mean, this is what sells, people. You know, and sometimes when you're just upfront about what you want people to buy and you put boobs on the cover, that will work just fine, and there's nothing wrong with it. But let's tone down. Let's go a little bit more artsy now. New Avengers number 26. We got a nice little cover here of the Scarlet Witch. Looks very sexy and provocative, very artsy. This one here, we got a very kind of artsy rendition. This was the second printing of Checkmate number 1, black and white. I got it signed by Greg Rucka. Of course, we have, you know what? I can't remember her name on the cover. Doesn't matter. Beautiful cover. More from Frank Quietly. Bite Club's Vampire Crime Unit. This is the second volume, or the second series of Bite Club that came out. Howard Chaykin, the writer, and Frank Quietly doing the cover. Do not cross, wrapped around her body. I tell you what. This one here, a very rare series, Heartthrob. This is hard to find. This has Brian Boland, Robert Reddy, and Phil Geminis. Steven Siegel and Tim Sale are all contributing to this comic book. Fantastic series, a classic one, and beautiful covers. This is a comic book, Spandex Tights, Adventures of the Aerobic Duo. Guys, how can you not pick that up? It almost looks like it's an Adam Hughes cover, but I don't know if it is or not. But frankly, it doesn't really matter. It's spandex. I mean, come on. Look at that. Good grief. It's in a $1 bin. It might have even been a 25-cent bin. I can't even remember. But, you know, this is the stuff that people want to I guess, abandon the Prurient fanboys like myself. Now, having said that, this is George Perez. Near the end, I would say. This is probably about 5 or 6 years before his retirement. Wonder Woman and Power Girl, a great cover by the master himself, George Perez, Mark Waid. This was by far the best written Brave and the Bold series in the history of the Brave and the Bold franchise. Exceptionally well written. This was Mark Waid in his prime for working with DC when he still liked DC, before he stopped working for DC. Hopefully one day he'll come back. But great series. I love me some Amanda Waller. You know, look, Amanda Waller. There's something sexy about a powerful black woman holding a gun. You know what I'm saying? And this cover just encapsulates that perfectly. And of course, along with Amanda Waller, Suicide Squad Rebirth number 7 with Katana on the cover. Beautiful cover there. Sexy as hell. Something about a woman with a sword, right? I don't know. Should I stare at the red dot, or should I stare at the 2 globes, or should I stare at the sword? And if I stare at the red dot, am I staring at the red dot on the head or the chest? Decisions. This is what a good cover does. It makes you stare and ponder and wonder what the hell you're going to do. But what you won't wonder is whether or not you're going to buy it, because you know you're going to buy it. Okay, so here we go. Again, we need some more Amanda Connor, guys. Look at that, Amanda Connor, Suicide Squad versus Justice League. It's fantastic. I picked this up in a $1 bin. I haven't even wrapped it, really. It's Elvira's House of Mystery, issue 3. Look at that. I mean, all kinds of suggestive imagery on that. This is the kind of stuff that you want to pick up. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. All right. Now, we're going to... Mystery in Mandrapore. Now, this is a Greg Land. Greg Land is a writer, he's an artist that, of course, at first he got famous for, he worked for CrossGen for a while, doing a number of series, and he became famous for sort of being a plagiarist. He sort of ripped off images of models, and he copied them with his art. And in any event, I didn't care. I loved his art. I still love his art, and I think whenever he does a cover, I often end up getting it. This one here, Voodoo cover number 2. Voodoo is a series written by Alan Moore, Al Rio, Trevor Scott, and Adam Hughes does the cover here. Ridiculously provocative cover. And yeah, I mean, how can you not want to pick that cover up? I mean, it's provocative in a number of ways. Okay, we'll tone down a little bit. We'll get some Dazzler on there to calm people down. Maybe I should have put up Amanda Waller there to calm everybody down. Any event. Okay, now we got Wonder Woman here. I think I've got like 4 of these covers. I got them back in the day. These covers are hard to find with where the white, because there's a lot of these covers are faded in the white areas. To find one that the white isn't faded can be difficult at times. You'll note that I got the statue right beside it. I mean, classic statue, classic cover, and but yeah, just a great cover. Really a great cover. Classic Power Girl, drawn by Joe Staton. Fantastic cover, probably one of the most classic covers of all time in my estimation, given my love of Power Girl. This is one I've always liked, this cover of Stephanie Brown as Robin. There's something very eye-catching about this cover. It's a beautiful cover to look at. Showcase number 6, one of the first early appearances of the Birds of Prey. Again, with great art by Frank. Gary Frank does that cover, and it's just a really provocative cover showing the Birds of Prey kicking some butt. All right, and Witchblade Animated. I love Darwin Cook, and this is one of the early Darwin Cook covers with Witchblade and Magdalena, I believe, and I can't remember who that other person is, but again, Paul Dini, David Bullock, Darwin Cook, Jay Bone, and Lee Lobridge. Fantastic issue, I think highly underrated. We got to get ourselves the Pro. Guys, if you want some X-rated comic books, check out the Pro. And yet I would say it's probably a heavy rated R. Probably a low NC-17 rating, but it's still pretty provocative. And Shuri here. I love this cover. I love this cover. It's just a beautiful cover. And Shuri is a great character of the MCU. And the sister to T'Challa, the Black Panther. Again, really great cover there. I'm going to try to... we're at the 35-minute mark, but I'm going to keep finishing this up because I'm having fun here, guys. So, you know, whatever. You can speed through and look through the various covers. Here we got Superwoman. Again, random stuff here. Sterling Gates wrote this. I'm not even sure who the cover artist was on this. This is a random Grimm Fairy Tales. Again, another dollar bin purchase. I don't even know who the artist is. Again, does it really matter? It doesn't. I love this cover of Alpha Flight number 3. Again, provocative covers with females on the top of them. I paid $10 for this. Now, why did I buy this? This isn't a provocative cover, but it's the first appearance of Evangeline. And I've got a lot of Evangeline from the early 80s. And this is the first appearance of Evangeline. So I did pay $10 for that. And it was top dollar, but that was just to complete my collection. Painkiller Jane in the Darkness, issue 1. Again, Ennis and Connor and Palmiotti. Great provocative cover. Painkiller Jane is just a very sexy character. This is the second printing. I got in late on the whole Edge of Spider-Verse thing, so a lot of my Spider-Verse stuff is second printings. But, you know, Gwen Stacy, Spider-Woman, got it. You know, I'm glad I picked that up. That's a nice kind of a sexy, provocative cover as well in its sort of innocence and the determination look on her face. All right, first issue of Gotham City Sirens. You know, it's funny that this series has really, everybody wants to get this on back issues, and it's on the Key Collector app. I actually didn't enjoy this series. I didn't think it was particularly well written. I thought Paul Dini, Guillaume March, his covers were really provocative and beautiful covers, but I wasn't really happy with Paul Dini's writing in it because he wrote it never made any sense to me that Catwoman at the time, given the continuity, she was written very much out of character because she wasn't really a villain at the time, and Paul Dini tried to correct that near the end of the series by stating that Selina was always basically undercover for the Batman, and then it ended up affecting her friendship that she had established with Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. But anyways, speaking of some more globes, here you go. Look at that, huh? An echo. Is there an echo in here? Yes, there is, right there. Now, here's another one, guys. Before there was, Milo Manara, that Spider-Woman cover, there was this cover. Look at that. I mean, the Spider-Woman cover outdoes this one, but this one, I'm pretty sure this one came first. But just in case you're wondering, that's, by the way, that's the number 3. Anyways, that was a very bad joke. Anyways, beautiful cover here. Believe it or not, Kurt Busiek actually wrote a story in this. I thought I was just buying the cover. Maybe one day I'll actually open it up and read the comic, but I doubt it. Okay, so I wanted to throw on some Talia. Talia, and this was, I think that's actually Lady Shiva. I like that. I've always liked that cover. I wanted to get some old school, I've always liked Killer Frost. There you go, making out with Firestorm, a little bit of provocation there, I'm sure. Another piece signed by Paul Dini. This is Batgirl Adventures. Again, I'm glad that I got these things signed at conventions. Gives you that little bit of edge if you ever want to unload them. Runaways number 1. I'll be very honest about Runaways. Never really liked the series, although I guess the first volume wasn't bad. The first 24 issues, what I bought as a hardcover set. I always thought it was a little bit overrated. I haven't watched the show. I don't know if it's any good. I only bought the first issue of this at the time. I'm not a big fan of Brian K. Vaughan. I don't think he's a particularly good writer. And I know I'm an outlier on that. That's my unpopular opinion. Paper Girls is terrible. Why the Last Man was a great series. Had a terrible ending. There was, so I'm not a big fan of Brian K. Vaughan. But I wish him all the success because he seems to have a lot of it. This one here is a G.I. Joe comic. And do you know what makes this one stand out from my collection is because this has 2 covers. This is a misprint. It's got 2 covers. It's ultra rare. I don't think anybody has this comic book because it literally, if you flip open the cover, you're going to see another cover identical to it. It actually has 2 covers, and I have no idea what it's worth. It's just an aberration. It's a mutant. It's a mutant existing, another mutant in the Marvel universe, breaking the 4th wall. In any event, here's the Canadian variant for Supergirl, Canadian newsstand variant. I showed the American newsstand variant before. A couple of other ones here. Rachel Rising number 1. We get to see a little bit, we see the shadow of her sexiness, and not the actual, it's actually kind of a PG-13 kind of comic. All right. I've always loved this issue. I've always loved it. It was one of my favorite covers of all time. The Adventures of Superman, Lois, and Clark Forever. Brian Bendis, take notes. This is how a relationship is supposed to be portrayed. Thank you very much. One that, it's okay to engage in functionality once in a while. This here, take a look at that. Look at that cover. One of the most famous Wonder Woman storylines is when she snapped Maxwell Lord's neck. During Blackest Night, Maxwell Lord returns, and in this image, which never actually occurs in the comic book, I believe, he tries to snap Wonder Woman's neck, but of course fails. It Girl! How can you not love It Girl? Whenever It Girl comes on, Mike Allred, I love his art, and China Clugston Major, Mike Allred is a great writer, and I've always enjoyed his work. And China Clugston Major, I believe she does some of the interior art. I can't quite remember. But here it is. Stop, girl. Stop it, girl. Or stop it, girl. None of this happens in the book. This is another breaking the 4th wall. I mean, stating the obvious, most things that happen on covers never happen in the book. But anyways, I love you too, It Girl. Oh, good God, what is not to love, right? Good grief. I'm telling you. Good stuff. A lot of sexy stuff going on here. Tagra, 1 of 4. Mike Deodato's art. How's this for, if you guys are getting a little bit too excited, don't worry. This will calm you down. Just think of Bloody Mary, huh? Good grief. Oh, Garth Ennis. I called him Warren Ennis earlier. I apologize. Garth Ennis. The Wedding of Luke and Mara. This is the old, this is probably the extended universe or the expanded Star Wars universe that people wish was not abandoned during the Star Wars saga, the latest one, but it is what it is. So guys, I'm gonna have there's a few more here, and then I got a couple other boxes I can probably go through, but we'll finish this up. This is a provocative cover, Star Wars Legacy. I don't even know what that character is, but you know, it's an alien, another one of those alien characters that looks sexy. This here, I got some classic romance comics from the 1940s, early 50s. Yeah, they speak for themselves. They're kind of interesting. You can look how big the Comics Code Authority sign is. That's one of the signs that this came out. This is February, March of Young Romance. Came out in 1958. You can see by the huge approved by the Comics Code Authority that they want to brag about that at the time, because comic books had been under attack since the mid to late 1940s, and so having the Comics Code Authority stamp on there was pretty important to sell a lot of these comic books. Guys, Ford Fairlane, huh? Ford Fairlane #1. Saw this in a dollar bin and I thought, are you kidding? The Dice Man? Now, I might be aging myself, guys, but if you have never watched The Dice Man Cometh, you are missing out. Just don't watch it with your girlfriend, or you won't have a girlfriend anymore. That's all I got to say about that. Okay, so, beautiful cover, Batgirl 38. Batgirl is not, I'm not enjoying Batgirl's run lately. I stopped collecting Batgirl well over, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. It's just not a particularly well-written series. But the covers are not bad. Faith, look at this. Great cover. This cover is actually damaged, but I bought it. I didn't care. I bought it because I love the cover. Paper Girls #1. I like the artist. I like this style of art. It's a little off. I'm not a huge fan of Brian K. Vaughan. This series is again one with a questionable ending. It wasn't the greatest, but it has a very strong following, and the art, the artistic style, I really liked. Okay, I have an early issue here of Life with Archie #10. Now, this is going back, I can't remember what year this is, but this is, again, I think this is in the early 1950s, Life with Archie #10. I picked this up in Brooks, Alberta. The population of Brooks is about, I think, 5 or 6, maybe 10,000 people. And anyways, it was dilapidated. And I think I paid $15 for this book, so I may have overpaid. I don't know. It's in probably like maybe a 3 or 4 condition. It does have some damaged off-white pages. The staples seem a little rusted, but it's one of those things where, you know, I mean, I have to salvage it and save it, right? And the guy just wouldn't let it go, so he wouldn't budge below 15, so I just bit the bullet, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I bought it. This is another Archie comic. Archie did a lot of Batgirl covers during the New 52 era, and before then with the Brian Q. Miller run. And Archie did a lot of covers. This is just one of them. I didn't want to show all of them, but again, it's pretty good. I have pretty much every Red Sonja cover. I shouldn't say every. It's impossible to have all the Red Sonja covers, but I do have a lot of Red Sonja covers. This is just one of probably the more provocative ones by Adam Hughes. It's definitely one of my favorite. It stands out, and people love this. There are so many Red Sonja covers. One thing that Dynamite does is that they did the variant print. They did the variant cover thing even before Marvel did, I think, and it's just insane the number of Red Sonja covers out there. So it's hard to choose. It's always difficult to choose which ones you want, but they're very provocative. Here's the second printing of JSA Classified #2, Adam Hughes. Another great cover. Oops, there you go. You know, it's hard to beat that. You gotta love you some Adam Hughes there. All right, so continuing on. Yes, we got the first appearance of Harley Quinn has actually a fairly sexy of Batgirl right on the cover there. So it's nice. And believe it or not, and I know you might be thinking I'm saying this because so many you got to wonder what the truth of some things are sometimes. I really did buy this. My retailer did not realize this was in his bin, and I bought this from him about about 12 years ago, and I literally got it. It was cover price. I got it for cover price because he had the entire run, most of the run of Batman Adventures, and wow, it was it's pretty good. Here's a second copy of the Wonder Woman, and again, you'll see that the white there, it's a little bit off white a little bit. It could be whiter, but that's just the price you pay. Another fantastic Wonder Woman cover, 184 by Adam Hughes. One of the more, I think, more sought after ones because it's just so beautiful. That's really it. This is one of my favorite Earth 2 Worlds End covers with Power Girl on it facing Darkseid. Fantastic cover. I'm not even sure who the cover artist is, but it's fantastic. Beautiful cover. And this one here is Secret Wars, Secret Love. I think this was sort of a homage to the romance comics. Sob, the world is ending, and Rob, you will never know how I feel. Yes, well, this is a great cover. Well worth it. And it's sort of done in the Lichtenstein style. The Lichtenstein, he's a famous artist that would take comic book pop art and sort of work with it. This is the Power Girl #1. This is the variant cover. I got it signed by Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti. Great stuff. I love those guys. This is Afterlife with Archie, the variant cover. I'm not even sure who this is. Andrew Percy and Millette, I guess, is the artist. Anyway, it's pretty good. Here's the other alternate cover I have, or not the alternate, but the other copy I have. This is I think this is an 8.0 of the Teen Titans #23 with Wonder Girl. This next issue is The Brave and Bold #33. This is one I really like. This is written by J. Michael Straczynski, and Cliff Chiang does the art. This is clearly one of the Brave and the Bold series by DC had some of the best written stories you will ever read. And of course, this one has to do with Oracle, and they fulfill her wish by they sort of go back in time, and they know that she's going to one day be crippled and become Oracle, and so they take her out dancing at the end. It's a feel-good story. It's well worth the read. This one here is Ghost, and I did pay $10 for this. I bought exactly what the price tag says. Again, most of the comics that I'm showing you here, I actually picked up off the rack because I've been collecting that long. But every now and then you'll see something like this. I do pick up some things and pay top dollar for. This is an Adam Hughes cover. It's hard to find Ghosts. I find it very hard to come across Ghost comic books, and this one is covered by Adam Hughes. I had to pick it up. Air Maidens, another one that a lot of people don't get. Air Maidens #1. I mean, I just love the cover. I mean, what's not to love about it, right? Okay, here we go. Birds of Prey Revolution, another cover I love. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I mean, I love that. It's a classic cover. You can tell right away it's going to be another one of those covers like Wonder Woman 72, where it's going to be hard. You want to keep it. You probably want to keep it protected to keep all this staying white and not fading over time. Young Avengers. I don't collect Young Avengers at all. I got this in a dollar bin. I don't have issues 1 through 5 or 1 through 6. This was just, I just happened to pick this up, and it happens. Apparently it's worth value because I think that's the female version of Hawkeye, and I can't even remember her name. This is one of my favorite covers of Thor. Jane Foster Thor is one of my favorite runs. This is Batman and Ivy. Batman, Harley and Ivy. Again, signed by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. And the signatures are there. In case you're wondering what their signatures look like, that's Bruce Timm, and that's Paul Dini's signature. And finally, I wanted to show you a woman in a very precarious position, and that, of course, is on the cover of OMAC #1. Look at that, huh? Pick this up for $10 because I've seen this cover so much. How often do you see a woman in that position? Yeah, I know. You just don't see them like that anymore. Although you actually saw that. I actually saw that. Brian Bendis had one of the artists draw that in Millennium. It was the first issue of Millennium in the OMAC, in one of the alternate futures, or the futures between now and the 31st century. There was a doll like that in a box drawn in that series of Millennium. But in any event, guys, Finally, the last thing I'll show before I sign off will be this cover of Supergirl, which really has, it is what it is. And this Adventure Comics classic Supergirl, you can't beat some of this stuff, guys. That kind of covers it for me. I just want to show one thing that I haven't opened out of the box yet, and I did pick up this. This was in a clearance bin. Again, you gotta love. I mean, nowadays you gotta wonder for future. This is for future action figures. Are they even going to draw provocative women and allow women to have provocative sexuality in an action figure anymore? We just don't know. But in any event, guys, that covers the first box of many that I can show you regarding some Prurient Fanboy covers. And thanks for watching. And until next time, guys, I'm just going to tell you that Comic Boom out.